This episode of the AI Daily Deep Dive podcast was researched entirely by the AI model O3 Deep Research and is fully AI generated. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something that's, well, frankly, everywhere lately: deepfakes.
hmm
These AI generated forgeries, they're getting unbelievably realistic, blurring that line between what's real and what's fake.
They really are, and it raises some huge questions.
Exactly. So the big question we're tackling today, based on this essay we looked at, is are our laws keeping up? Do we actually need stricter laws to handle this tech?
It's a critical question for, well, basically our whole digital life now. The essay makes a pretty strong case, I think. It shows how this isn't just some tech curiosity anymore.
Right.
It poses real challenges, serious ones, across, several areas.
Hmm.
Makes you think the legal side needs to catch up, and fast.
Okay, so it's not just about the technology itself being clever. The essay really digs into the potential harm, the negative side.
Definitely.
It seems to break it down into, what, three main areas of concern. Can we unpack those a bit?
Absolutely. So the first big one the essay stresses is misinformation. And related to that, political manipulation.
Ah, okay. The election interference angle.
Precisely. I mean, just imagine how easy it could be, theoretically, to drop a fake video online right before vote.
Yeah.
Something totally fabricated that could, swing opinions.
Wow.
The essay mentions that fake video of President Zelensky, even though people spotted it as a fake pretty quickly.
I remember that.
The speed it spread, the confusion it caused, even briefly,
Mm.
that really shows the potential danger.
Yeah, it's the speed and the sheer scale that gets you, isn't it? The essay also brought up this concept I found: chilling the liar's dividend.
Oh, yes. That's a worrying one.
The idea that just because deepfakes exist, someone caught doing something genuinely wrong could just say, nope, that's a deepfake, and, well, people might believe them. It just
Yes.
erodes trust overall.
Exactly. The essay argues that this breakdown of trust is like a fundamental risk to society. If we reach a point where you genuinely can't be sure if video or audio is real,
Mm.
that messes with everything. Political debates, court cases, just basic facts.
Okay, so that's misinformation. What's the second area the essay highlighted? This one seems particularly nasty: harassment and non-consensual pornography.
Tragically, yes. And the essay suggests this is where deepfakes are actually most widespread right now. The numbers it cites are pretty stark.
Like what sort of numbers?
Well, some research suggests something like 96% or even more of the deepfakes online are pornographic. And they overwhelmingly target women without their consent, obviously.
That's horrifying.
It is. And it's not abstract. The essay mentions real victims, people like Elliston Berry, Molly Kelly. It really brings home the intense personal harm these things cause.
God, you can only imagine how violating that feels. The essay points out that, our existing laws, things like defamation or maybe privacy torts, they weren't really built for the specific kind of digital abuse.
That's a key takeaway. The essay talks about how lawmakers are, well, scrambling a bit to respond. You see states in the U.S. trying to pass laws to criminalize making and sharing these non-consensual deepfake images. And that recent federal law, the Take It Down Act, that's a big step. The first federal law really aims squarely at this specific type of deepfake sexual abuse.
That federal action feels overdue, honestly. But the essay also mentions the First Amendment complications in the U.S., doesn't it? Like that California bill, AB 2839, running into trouble.
It does. It highlights that tension. How do you protect people from really serious harm caused by malicious deepfakes without accidentally clamping down on, say, free speech or even things like parody and political satire?
It's a balancing act.
A very difficult one, especially in the U.S. legal system, which is, very protective of expression. The essay suggests the focus tends to be on laws targeting specific provable harms, rather than just banning the tech or broad categories of false content. Applying that to deepfakes is tricky.
Okay, so misinformation, harassment. What's the third area of harm the essay identified?
Financial fraud and identity scams. This is another area where the tech is becoming worryingly effective.
Right, like that story about Jennifer DeStefano. The fake kidnapping call using her daughter's cloned voice. That is genuinely terrifying stuff.
It really is. And the essay points out how deepfakes can basically supercharge old scams. Voice cloning is getting so good now you only need a tiny audio sample of someone.
A few seconds, maybe.
Exactly. And suddenly you can make them say anything. The essay gives examples of, big financial frauds already happening using this tech. CEOs supposedly ordering huge money transfers. It's hitting individuals and companies.
And it's not only voice stuff, right? The essay mentioned video deepfakes, too, like for fake job interviews or pushing crypto scam.
Yes, all of that. Combine realistic video or voice deepfakes with maybe some stolen personal data, and suddenly bypassing security checks becomes much, much easier. The potential for complex fraud just skyrockets.
It feels like the barrier to entry for this kind of thing is just dropping rapidly.
That's a major point in the essay. The tools are getting easier to use, more accessible. You don't need to be a Hollywood SFX artist anymore. This accessibility really amplifies the risk across the board. Impersonating someone online convincingly, that fundamentally shakes trust in digital interactions in financial systems.
So the essay clearly outlines these serious harms. It also touches on how fast the underlying technology has actually developed, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It traces that evolution from, the early kind of clunky face swaps
Yeah, those apps.
to the development of Jan's generative adversarial networks. That was a big leap. Like two AIs battling, one creating fakes, one detecting them, constantly improving the realism.
Right, pushing each other.
And now diffusion models, making things even more sophisticated, more seamless. The essay emphasizes this rapid progress means creating very convincing fakes is, well, within reach for a lot more people now.
Which leads to the worry, I guess, that soon maybe nobody, or at least the average person, can reliably tell real from fake anymore just by looking or listening.
That's the concern, yeah. The essay talks about this ongoing arms race, deepfake creation tech versus detection tech.
Uh-huh.
Researchers are constantly finding new ways to spot the fake's little artifacts, inconsistencies.
Like weird blinking patterns or something.
Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
or unnatural movements. But the creators adapt just as fast, learning how to smooth over those tells. So the essay suggests just relying on detection tools alone is probably not going to be enough long term.
Okay, so given all these harms, the rapid tech, the detection challenges, the core of the essay is really the legal response, right? How are different places trying to tackle this? It starts with the U.S.
Yes, it looks at the U.S. first. And the big factor there, as we touched on, is the First Amendment. Strong speech protections mean laws have to be carefully targeted.
So lots of state-level action, especially on the non-consensual sexual stuff, and maybe election fakes.
Exactly. But comprehensive federal laws have been slower, though the Take I Down Act is a recent significant exception. And then there's Section 230, which generally shields online platforms from liability for user content. That adds another layer of complexity to regulating deepfakes hosted online.
Okay, then the essay contrasts the U.S. with the European Union. Their approach seems different, more focused on transparency.
That's how the essay frames it. The EU seems to be leaning heavily on things like mandatory labeling. The new AI Act, for instance, will require clear labels on AI-generated content like deepfakes, so people know what they're seeing.
So you'd get a warning, basically.
Kind of, yeah. Plus, their Digital Services Act puts more responsibility on big platforms to tackle disinformation risks, which includes deepfakes. And the essay notes that the GDPR, their big data privacy law, might also apply if someone's likeness is used without permission.
Interesting. And the third example the essay uses is China. Their approach sounds quite different again, very strict.
Very much so, according to the essay. China's deep synthesis regulations involve a lot more direct state control. Mandatory labeling is there too, but also rules requiring consent to use someone's likeness or voice.
Consent is key there.
And a ban on creating deepfakes that are misleading or harmful. Plus, things like real name registration for users of deepfake tools and significant obligations on platforms to police content. It's a much more top-down approach.
Right. So we've got these different models, U.S. balancing speech, EU emphasizing transparency, China using tight control. Given all that, what's the essay's final answer to that central question? Do we need stricter laws?
The essay's conclusion is pretty clear. Yes, stricter laws are needed. It argues that the harms, the potential for misinformation, the reality of harassment, the growing threat of fraud are significant enough that current laws in many places just aren't adequate.
They can't keep pace.
Exactly. The tech is moving too fast and the potential impact is too broad for the legal frameworks we have now.
But it's not arguing for, like, banning the technology outright, is it? It mentions the need for balance.
Absolutely. The essay stresses that stricter laws need to be smart laws, carefully crafted to target the specific harms without choking off innovation or legitimate uses like artistic expression or satire. It's not easy.
No, definitely not.
And it highlights what seems to be a growing consensus. We need more than just laws. It has to be a multi-pronged approach.
Like what?
Well, technology solutions are part of it. Better detection, yes, but also things like content authentication. The essay mentions initiatives like C2PA, which helps verify the source and history of digital content, maybe watermarking AI stuff.
Okay, tech solutions.
Then there's public education, helping people become more digitally savvy, more critical of what they see and hear online, improving media literacy.
So laws, tech, and education all working together.
That seems to be the recipe the essay points towards.
So to boil it all down, the essay argues that while we have to protect rights like free speech and allow for innovation, the risks from deepfakes are real and serious enough that we do need stronger, targeted laws to protect, truth, trust, basic personal dignity in this digital age.
That captures the essence of its argument, yes. A proactive, adaptable legal framework is presented as essential to manage this technology and prevent it from, well, seriously damaging our society.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive really underscores how complex this whole deepfake issue is and why the debate over stricter laws is so urgent right now. It's definitely a lot for us all to think about as this tech keeps evolving.
It really is. And maybe that leaves you, the listener, with a final thought. In a world where seeing or hearing might no longer be believing by default, how does that change the way you navigate information? How do you decide what to trust, what to share? It's a question we'll all be grappling with.